So this is a frog, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it open so we can see the guts. So we're doing frog and pigeon guts today, okay? For the pigeon, we don't need to know blood vessels or muscles, just guts and some of those external features. All right, that's good, right? The more you know. My scissors. All right, so what you're gonna do to cut open your frog is to start with the incision that's already been made in the pectoralis muscles. You're gonna cut just kind of parasagittal, so just off the midline, down the rectus abdominis muscles. And once I reach this area here by the groin, I'm gonna make an I-shaped, letter I shaped incision. So I'm going to cut through the obliquus externus muscles here so that I can open up the entire thoracic cavity. So we're going to prepare the frog for next week when we do our blood vessel search. And because we don't know what we will find and what we won't, going to be on the list, but we'll make subtractions, we won't make any additions. All right? So the second thing you do, so we cleared off the left side. What I want to do now is scrape off this ventral abdominal vein from the ventral body wall. Okay. And then extend my eye incision through the left obliquus externus musculature. Okay, so you can see it's like a little door. All right, so there we go. We have our ventral abdominal vein. And if you kind of look in there, you can see that the ventral abdominal vein drains the blood from the legs, and it brings it all the way up here to the liver. Okay, and from the liver it goes to the heart. So now I want to open up the chest cavity, and to do that I have to cut through the sternal bones right up to where the mylohyoid is. And then I'm just going to take the frog's arms and just kind of split that open, okay? So I'm going to reveal some deep musculature here that I'm just going to clip off, because we really don't need to know that unless you want to. I don't know what it is. Okay, so look at, here's the heart of the frog, and you see this mesentery here. This mesentery is part of the mesentery that forms your transverse septum. So you know, the one that kind of cuts your anterior body cavity, the thoracic cavity, from the abdominal cavity. In the frog, it's just separating the heart from the rest of the visceral organs. Okay, so we have that transverse septum here. I'm just going to cut it off. And again, we're prepping this area for next week. So what I want to do is I want to take a non-pinchy forceps, a fine forceps. I'm going to start peeling away some of this mesentery here. Okay, it's not really important that we know what it is. Sometimes it's a little thick. I don't want to rip any vessels, so I'm just going to clip it, because I want to reveal this really pretty vasculature here. All right, so what I start to see when I clear this tissue away is that there are several really nice branches from this V-shaped aorta. Okay, so right here on top of the heart, in the middle of the two atria, is the first portion of the aorta that comes up from the ventricles. This first portion is called the conus arteriosus. Okay, so we're going to learn that again next week, but just so you know where it is. And what happens is the aorta branches up into two main branches and then comes up around the rear of the heart and then joins together in the abdominal cavity behind the liver to form the dorsal aorta. So what that pair of vessels is that traverses around toward the back, that's called the systemic arch of the aorta. Okay, so we're going to clear that away and look at it next week. So the frog has a 3-chambered heart. It has a right atrium, a ventricle, and a left atrium. There's one ventricle, so that means that oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood are mixing together. With the velocity of blood flow, that's prevented somewhat, but they're still mixing, making that an inefficient way to oxygenate blood. And so that's why the frog has vessels, and we're going to see these next week, that lead to the skin. It's right here. This little vessel right here that leads to the skin in order to have cutaneous gas exchange. Okay, so that's the cutaneous artery. There's also one artery, see this one that's pointing down this way, that leads to the lungs. Okay, there's one on this side. They're so cute, yeah. And then one on this side. Okay, so those little lungs there, they're very inefficient to inflate. So the frog has to physically gulp air in order to inflate those lungs. So that's why it has both the systemic and pulmonary circulation. So if I lift up this lung on this side, look, I can see the systemic arch of the aorta coming around here, and it joins up to form the dorsal aorta. And look at, oh, we have our favorite first branch off the arch of the aorta, which is the celiaco-mesenteric artery. Yeah? So that's the same. Okay, so I have the little lungs, and look at, so here's the big liver. Liver has 3 lobes, and they're joined together in the middle by an isthmus. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to clip this ventral abdominal vein at the base and kind of peel it back so I can open up the liver a little bit. And underneath that ventral abdominal vein and in the isthmus of the liver, I find the stinky green balloon, the gallbladder. Okay? It's easy to find, little green disgusting thing. Okay, so I'm going to move the liver up. And what I reveal is the stomach. So look at, the stomach forms a J shape. And once it forms the bottom of this J, here, look at, there's that little pinchy area, see? Pyloric sphincter, okay? And the first bend here of this tube is the duodenum, okay? So in terrestrial vertebrates, the small intestine has 3 parts. The first part's the duodenum, and the middle part's the jejunum, and the last part's the ileum. Okay, so in the frog though, we can't tell the difference between the jejunum and the ileum, so we combine it together to make the jejuno-ileum. Jejuno-ileum. But we can clearly see the duodenum coming from the stomach here and making this first turn. So there's even a difference, a little bit of a difference in diameter between here and here, which is the jejuno-ileum. So the first thing I want to show you guys is, see the stomach here and your duodenum. You have a mesentery connecting the two, that's the greater omentum. Okay? The greater omentum has in it a brown, tiny streak of tissue. So see this brown, oops, I got a vessel. See this brown streak, okay? That is the pancreas. Oops, I ripped it. So it's tiny. There's another one over here. This is my froggy. It's a little, can you see that brown streak? There's another part of it right here. Brown streak, pancreas. So the pancreas is in the greater omentum, in the mesentery. Yep. And it's right near the pyloric sphincter. The spleen, however, defies our rule of being near the stomach in both the frog and the pigeon. So, shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, so we have our duodenum. But look at, once the duodenum turns up here and gets super, super curly, that's the jejunal-ileum, okay? The jejunal-ileum is all held together by the lesser omentum, okay? And if we flip, if we flip the lesser omentum over, look at what I found. That's the spleen. Holy crap! Look how far away it is from the stomach. Darn it, spleen. Okay, so we have our duodenum, jejunal-ileum. This big thing, look at how big the diameter changes from the jejunal-ileum here to the colon here. Okay? Colon. Okay? Now, we can't see the rectum because it disappears behind the pelvic area of the frog. But just at the base of the colon, there's this thin, delicate looking bag. No.
I'll just read in the
Yeah, it looks like it, right? You would think.
I don't know.
But it's the urinary bladder.
Oh.
This
what
one
fat
doesn't
bodies
have,
look like.
oh, these are fat bodies.
Ew.
Yeah, they're disgusting. Who has a girl frog? Anyone? Girl frog? Anyone? God damn it.
No, we don't. We're getting it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your help. Okay, so look at. I peeled my colon and shit over this way in the spleen. Here, this is a boy. Look, he's got a little testis right here with fat bodies growing up here. And those fat bodies help provide nutrients and warmth for the developing germ cells. Okay? So here's his little fat bodies and testis. Okay? The testis is stuck to the dorsal body wall by this mesentery here. Thank you. I'll put it away for you guys.
Kayla and Will.
Kayla and Will? Okay. Is stuck to the dorsal body wall by a mesentery. Mesorchium, right? Mesorchium, okay? What about in the female? What's the ovary attached? Mesovarium, okay? The female has fat bodies too, okay?
Like little beans.
They're gross.
I feel like all of them look like little
Everything
beans.
looks like a
Everything in
little
there.
bean. I can't eat beans on my new nutrition plan, so I'm really sad. When you find out, like, green beans is a carb, like, you start crying. Why would I waste my carbs on eating a vegetable? All right, so see this bluish plate with these little brown beady things in it? Okay, that's the kidney. That's the left kidney. The right kidney is this big bluey thing here. So they get weirdly injected, so that's why they look so different on each side. Now on the lateral portion of the kidney, I have this twisty-turny little tube. Okay? This is called the Wolffian duct. Okay, the Wolffian duct carries sperm and urine into the cloaca. Okay? Female frogs have that too. This like pile of animals. All right, so this is the ovary.
Ew. I don't like that. Ugh.
Oh, really? So it's a sac, and if you break it open, it's got little eggies in it. So see?
That whole thing is the ovary.
The whole thing is the ovary. And this is not even during mating season. During mating season, these eggs will grow a little bit in diameter and will take up the entire abdominal cavity.
To my friend who's also scared of holes.
It's not holes, it's circles.
You're so cruel. I'm gonna send it to my friend.
My sister like sends me scary spider videos all the time. I'm like, just freaking hate
love
you.
right there.
Why do you do that? Okay, so the ovary is one big sac, and during mating season, which seems to be approaching for this frog, look at how much the Wolffian duct hypertrophies. Okay, so but at the head of the Wolffian duct, we have the main connection between the ovary and that duct. So the top part of the Wolffian duct we call the oviduct. Okay, and then that leads into this big twisty turny part here, which is the Wolffian duct. Okay, so that will carry urine. This frog is dry.
So it's only this big during mating season?
It'll get
Bigger.
yeah, it'll get
It gets bigger
it
than
gets
that?
bigger. It gets bigger than that. So the entire abdominal cavity of the frog is really filled.
Whenever I get to the girl, can we not like sit there that long? I'll probably like freak out. So if y'all see me
I have
freaking
to
out, that's how
don't
y'all know it's
yeah,
a girl.
don't freak out. It's okay. Yeah, so you'll know which station it is. All right, so let's look at this disgusting pigeon, shall we? All right. So to cut through the pigeon, again, we don't need to know muscles or or vessels, right? Never eat chicken again.
Or pigeons?
It's called.
Why do I keep saying, oh, people eat pigeons all the time?
They do. It's called squab.
And I'm like, just because the people do it, don't mean I'm gonna do it.
My grandma had, my mom had some pet pigeons and
But
my
I
grandma
think-
cooked them one day.
Oh my god.
I think like people when
did that
when
for my
people
brother's
raise
goat.
them for I love goats.
I do too.
But I also like how they taste. So
I don't.
but I don't if I had a baby goat, I don't think I would ever eat goat again.
Well, we don't cook them when they're babies.
My mom
though.
had
They
a
wouldn't-
baby.
that's
They're
what
like
I was gonna say,
teenagers.
They won't always be babies. Once they grow, you can cook it.
We cook them when they're teenagers, not babies.
I watched
I
my
love goats so
I
much.
watched my uncle
I
kill
feel like
a
the goat is
lamb
my
in
spirit
my grandma's
animal,
backyard. It
really.
was so sad. He told me not to go back there, and I heard it like screaming. So I went back there. It was just blood everywhere, and I was like,
Yeah, it's really
And
loud.
he's-
My grandpa used to do
Oh
it.
my god. Yeah, so my
Have you ever been to the farm about that?
Yes.
Those are
I want to go to the little miniature farm.
oh my god, that place is awesome. Tanglewood Farms.
Yeah, that one. I saw it on Facebook.
My lab used to volunteer there. We would go there just so that we could feed the baby
Your
goats.
lab?
Where's this?
My research lab.
Oh, I was thinking like your lab dog.
Oh, no.
There.
They have farm dogs. So they have guardian farm dogs. It's called an Estrella Mountain Dog. It looks like a big wolf. Like it is, I mean, it's got the most gentle eyes, but that dog works so hard, but then he'll come in when it's time for him to rest and the other dog goes out and he'll just like plop himself on you. It's like 200 pounds. So, oh my God, his name's Ripper, but he's like the most gentle dog. Okay, so cutting open the pigeon, I went just a little bit to the left of the keel. Left, remember we're doing the side of the patient. Okay, so I cut just to the left of the keel and there's so much muscle. It's so disgusting.
Oh.
Ooh, I think I hit cloaca.
That's what you were saying.
No, it doesn't. It just smells like gross. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut up the neck here, but you're gonna see when I cut open the neck tissue that the esophagus is super, super close to the skin. Okay, so look at, I ripped open part of the esophagus, if you can even believe that. But here, look at this esophagus is this big thin pouch up here.
These are nasty.
And the out-pocketing of esophagus is known as the crop. Okay, so the crop, when the pigeon eats, it stores like all of the grain and little stones in the crop. Okay, so unless there's a pigeon that we find that has seeds in its crop, we had one on Tuesday. It was so gross. Like I dumped it out. It was like, it was so gross. And then I found a tumor on my pigeon. It was so disgusting.
Oh, that's muscle?
Yes.
Strong.
You've eaten a chicken before, haven't you?
Oh,
Chicken
true
breast.
that.
I'm not
I didn't even think of
This is chicken.
that.
No, it's
Darcy
not
knows
chicken
where it's
breast.
at.
Not chicken breast.
Is it all that poop?
No, it's dried up blood.
I was like, dang.
No, it's dried up blood. Okay, so
I'm just gonna flick at me.
yeah, I got
I
Henry
feel like
today.
I probably should have worn my gown over here.
I know I'm missing, sorry.
Yeah.
Could never be a
Gotta get in
surgeon because I'm like, ooh, what's this?
That's why we get an orthopedic surgeon. They just break stuff and then put it back together.
So believe it or not, this is esophagus, this whole thing. This is
that
the
whole
crop.
bag.
This is the crop. So the crop is basically an outpocketing of esophagus. And again, this pouch here usually holds seeds and little pebbles.
Ours look empty.
Yeah.
Why does it just hold it?
Well, okay, so imagine you're an animal that can't chew your food. You can't, you just have a beak, right? So you can grab it and you may be able to crack it in half, but you can't chew it up. And so imagine that you're this animal and you only eat some of the hardest, most indigestible foods that are possible, like seeds. All right, so they start to store and soften the seeds in here. And then you'll see how they get digested very shortly. So I'll aim it down. All right, that's just dried up blood.
Sounds like
It's like
cracking your
butter.
knuckles.
Yeah. Give it a little sponge, please. Not really.
Why does ours have so much blood?
Well, so it probably just like died funny. Not like haha funny. But
Like
you
ran
know
into a
what
window
like
or something.
lividity is? So when a body settles in a certain place, there's pooling of blood and it looks like a big bruise. Basically, this pigeon probably got thrown somewhere after it was euthanized and the blood pooled in its
So do
abdominal
they
area.
grow these animals for this, or like do they? Okay.
Although we did find one with a tag on it in the other class. There was a band on the bird. So I don't know where it was from. And it could be that a lab donated it to this purpose. Okay, so what I want to do first is kind of peel this crop away so that I can show you.
Oh.
Can I show you guys the trachea? So there's another tube,
Whoa.
and see this tube right here? And look at when I take it up like this, you can see that there are little shiny rings. Okay, those are cartilage rings, C-shaped rings of cartilage, and this is the trachea. So that tells you the difference between the trachea and the esophagus, because when we get down here toward the heart area, the esophagus actually makes an official tube, and to tell the difference between the two of them, you have to look for those cartilaginous rings. So if you take your probe, you can actually hear them being cartilaginous. Okay, so here's the heart of the pigeon. And the heart of the pigeon, unlike the frog, has 4 chambers. Look, it's got a hole in its heart. That's where all the blood's going.
Why do I look at this and everything reminds me of food?
Mole! I love mole.
Oh my god, when my mom comes into town, she makes them like,
No.
Not this time. They have some squab mole.
That's my favorite.
I love mole so much. Oh my! I love it when it's like super spicy that I almost can't stand it. Okay, so look at I cut open the heart, and these are the ventricle chambers. Okay, look at this one is the right ventricle. Look how thin the muscular wall is. Okay, and then look at the left side. There's hardly seems like any chamber because it's so thick and muscular. So the right side is thinner because it just has to pump blood to the lungs, which are these little things here. Okay, there's a lung here, and then there's one somewhere in here.
Like a liver.
It does. You got to rinse out your pigeon. So like.
Do you need more paper towels?
No, just rinse it out. Most of this bloody stuff will disappear. So there's the other lung. So it's a short distance from the right side of the heart to the lung. That's why that's not very muscular. But the left side of the heart is in charge of pumping blood to the rest of the body. It's called the systemic side of the heart, and that's why it's got such thick musculature, because it has to, act against gravity and all that stuff. The upper two chambers, you can kind of see if I peel away the pericardium here. There's one on this side and one on this side right here, the little flappy do. This one is up here. But when I cut it open, you can see that they're just little kind of holding chambers. Okay, so blood enters the heart in the right atrium, flows to the right ventricle, up through the pulmonary arteries into the lungs, back to the left atrium through the pulmonary veins, into the left ventricle, and then out to the body. Okay? All right, so we found the lungs, we saw the heart. Now this big thing here, liver, okay, this chunky liver. This, if we follow this tube, it connects up here to the esophagus. This is the gizzard of the stomach. Okay, so the gizzard is a really hard muscular portion of the stomach. People eat this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad.
I like that. Like chicken.
Oh.
Chicken.
Oh.
It
It looks like this in the chicken too.
But it's delicious.
No. I'm sorry.
They taste weird to me.
They taste like
No.
organs that hold shit.
That's
So,
what they do, right?
well,
No?
pre-shit. It's proto-shit. So,
The kind of food.
Because gizzards stink when you clean them.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
no, I saw
because
the
you know
process.
this is really hard muscle. So what happens is all of the grain and seeds and stones that get swallowed and stored in the crop are sent down to the stomach, or the gizzard of the stomach, and the gizzard just grinds all that stuff up. So it needs help from those stones to grind up the seeds.
Those are they eat the stones? I thought they were just eating them just to eat them
Because they're stupid.
because they're slow.
Poor babies. Birds, they get a bad rap, but they've been around for a long time.
Moana.
Oh, Hey is
Oh, yeah.
so
Oh,
cute.
yeah.
That was the funniest, like, so my dad grew up in Hawaii, and his family had like a real modest chicken farm. And my grandfather picked pineapples for adult pineapple people, but like they had a farm where they raised their own vegetables and they had chickens. And my dad had one of those like Polish super fancy feather chickens. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
They have the feather legs and they look like they're wearing pants. And then they have like a weird poofy like phyllo plumes on their head.
gosh, they're so
and
cute.
they look like they're wearing a snow hat. They're so cute. But
You know what phylloperos are?
but yeah, he's like, yeah, that chicken is just like Hey from the movie. So yeah, my dad loves that movie.
I do too.
Yeah.
Watched it like 10 times.
Oh my, it's so good.
Like
isn't
Moana
it?
has my dream life. I just want to go
Yeah.
sail.
But it's oh, I have a documentary for you to watch. I'll write it down on the board, Susan. Okay, so from the gizzard of the stomach, food passes into this first turn of the small intestine here. So we're just going to know the small intestine as the small intestine. Look at it, it's got big crap in it. What is that? It's a tumor. I just shot it out at you.
No, it's right there.
Freak out.
Okay, so this first turn, though, of the small intestine, that's the duodenum. But in the turn, there's this organ in the middle. See that? It's like a little finger organ that's in the mesentery. This is the pancreas. Yes, that's the pancreas. Oh, I forgot to show the other groups the spleen, because the spleen is somewhere. Can't see it very well, covered in yucca. Maybe we won't. Oh, there it is. We won't identify the spleen.
Oh.
There's a spleen here.
So it's behind the gizzard?
Yeah.
Can you show the pancreas again?
Yeah. Okay, I'll show it in this bird. So here's the spleen. It's behind the gizzard of the stomach, spleen stomach. Pancreas is, see this?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so see, here's the duodenum, and right in the middle, in the mesentery, is the pancreas. Okay? I'm not going to dare find the spleen in here. It's too murky. Oh, there it is. A little bean. I wonder what this is. Well, you're a girl. Can't tell. Well, you just can't tell on your bird. I assume it's a male. Okay, so anyway, small intestine. It may be like non-breeding season, so we don't know. Kind of straightens out here. See, this straightens out. This is the large intestine where it's straight. And you can tell where the large intestine is because it has these two little out-pockety things. These are the coliceca. A singular one is a colicecum. That's like your appendix. So it has digestion properties and gut biota properties. So it also probably makes vitamin K or something for the pigeon. Nasty pigeon. All right, so like I don't know if that's a gonad or no, that's got to be the spleen. Yeah, I can't tell what this is, but the kidneys are hidden in the dorsal body wall. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you on this pigeon. It's a girl pigeon, and I'm going to sweep all the organs off to the side. You can see a teeny tiny spleen right here, but see this blue thing right here with all these little round things? That's the ovary. And in females, only one side of the reproductive tract develops and hypertrophies during a mating season. Okay, it takes a lot of room inside a flight bird to make and yolk up eggs. So one side develops because it's going to get really big in there once it has a mature egg. So attached to that ovary is this big tube. Okay, so I ripped it accidentally yesterday. So this big tube curls around. This is the oviduct. All right, so we broke into this oviduct on Tuesday, and out popped an unshelled egg. So there was like gelatinous yolk, and then, or gelatinous, the white part, and then this yolk. Okay, and it was so, it like bounced off. I had no idea, because I've never seen a mature bird like this. We usually have very immature birds. But this, yeah, I can't tell what this is. So, but that's what the female looks like. So there's just one side that develops. It's got one ovary on the left side, this oviduct, and I imagine just before this egg would go into the cloaca to be oviposited, that in this oviduct is that shell gland. Okay, so if you happen to have a female and you open up the oviduct, you can see, look, it's got all these little surface area folds and stuff like that, and those areas contain a lot of glands for adding in nutrients and shelling materials. Okay, so that's what a female looks like. A male has, I cleared the liver out of this guy. The male has these bead-like testes, so they look like little, they actually do look like lamb fry, little testes here. Okay, and then just behind those, embedded in the dorsal body wall, we have these three-lobed kidneys. Okay, so you can see there's one on the right side and one on the left side. Okay, those are your kidneys in the back. So there's a kind of a drawing here of what that looks like. We're not going to learn where the vas deferens is or the ureter because I can't really see it very well, but we do know where the oviduct is on this. Oh, look at, there's a ureter right here. Okay, so we won't need to, we won't identify that. Don't get time for that. Okay, so male, female, unknown.
What's this?
Gender fluid.
What's what?
It's on the side. Like, open it up a little bit.
It's fat.
Ah.
Just fat. I don't know. Like, I can't. Maybe after you rinse it out. Oh, there it is. There is a testis. I really had to dig. Oh, maybe not. No. I don't think that is testis. I think that's esophagus. Yep, it is. So I would find testis or some kind of reproductive organ, like it would be right around this area here at the apex of the kidney, but I don't see anything. So I bet it's either an immature, not immature, but non-breeding season female. It would be my guess. Okay, so